All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Titus. I'm here with my good buddy Kevin today, and we got some good conversation coming up for you. Duck season is upon us. It is almost here. We're getting pumped, and we had some conversations today on the phone, and I was like, you know what? Can you do a podcast? He's like, yes. So we want to get on here and have some conversation.
Yes, we do.
So let's start with that dinner that we just had that you put on, man. That was a good time.
Yeah, thanks for coming. That's something I like to host. I like to host at least 2 a year, kind of little pre-duck season and a little post-duck season, just to get everybody, the preseason, obviously, just to kind of get everybody pumped up, get the juices flowing, although they're already flowing for us 24/7, 360, but it's just to get everybody kind of lined up, partake in the last year's bounty. So,
yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. What did we have as far as meat? We had elk, deer, pig.
Yeah. Elk, deer, pig, fez. We had pheasant, duck, and goose.
Yep.
So we kind of hit it all. Yeah.
Dude, and so, I mean, do you remember some of the plates that we had? What was the name of some of them, or no?
Yeah, we had the Saigon pheasant, which was in lieu of lemon fez that they and this is we're doing this at Frank Fat's for folks. Mm-hmm. That's in the Sacramento, downtown Sacramento Chinese restaurant. Hosted them a few other times at Simon's downtown, but since the pandemic, I had migrated over to Frank's. But so we had Saigon Fez, Kung Pao goose, duck lettuce cups. I think they call it yukwok. They're kind of like the dumpling. So that had our pig and elk in it. If you remember those,
that was good.
Those dumplings. Yeah. We had deer skewers or venison skewers. We had some orange duck. Oh gosh, what else?
I'm trying to think.
I think pineapple goose.
Yes, that's what it was.
Like a sweet one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think I even had a Mongolian goose or duck. So I tried to do a little sweet and salty, Yeah. And then we had some duck fried rice. Was that good or what?
Oh, dude. Well, everything was good, and I couldn't stop talking about. Actually, me, Travis, and Thomas on the way home just couldn't stop talking about how good that was, dude. And I think what made it even so much better is the fact that it was harvested wild, right? It was wild game harvested.
Yeah.
Nothing from the factory.
Nothing from the factory, straight up organic.
Yep, and it just makes it feel better. It's right. It feels right. Like it's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Oh yeah.
But no, it was it was so good. Man, my favorite. I really didn't feel like I had a favorite. Everything tasted so good. Like the pheasant was amazing. Like I will say, I think I had 3 servings of that. And I had a couple servings of the rye. I mean, I had double servings of everything. And the group there made it really good. Like, can you kind of tell us who was there at that group?
Yeah. Yep. So I had a few folks from CWA there. And some of your guests or your fans have heard Mark Henley. He's from CWA. He's been on your podcast a few times before. We've hosted him, right? So Mark was there from CWA. We had the president of CWA, John Carlson. He was there. We had Mr. Will Bear. Now, Will Bear, he's still like a voting member, if I'm not mistaken, but he used to have a job. He was employed by CWA at one time. Now he's a school teacher. But we had Will Bear, who's on the radio too. He does some radio stuff during the duck season with Bob Sims. And we had a guy, Ryan Arts. I met him at a trap shoot a just recently, but was a great guy. He came with Will. It was a great dude. And then my buddy Chris Goodwin. He kind of resided in Merced for the last probably 20 years as on Merced PD down there. He's recently retired. You, your brother, we had your best friend Travis, and my buddy Dom. You know Dom. Or you actually got to meet Dom in person.
Yeah. Me and Dom, we go way back, man. No, it's funny because we've talked on the phone so many times, and I don't know what it is about Dom. I don't know if Dom will listen to this, but he makes me laugh, dude. I don't know why. Like, I don't know.
I know.
And he's probably going to be like, why do I make you laugh? He's probably going to think, why do I make you laugh? But I'm not the only one that says that, because Caleb said that too. He's like, I think it's just he's a cool guy. He's funny. Some stuff he probably doesn't mean to be funny, but he's just funny, like how he presents it and stuff. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But meeting him in person was really cool because he is very, and I was telling them this, I said, he's very like, makes me feel like I'm not even a polite guy. Like, he's very respectful, very polite, very like the manners. I know that sounds kind of weird to even be saying that, maybe, I guess, but like, I don't know how explain it. Like, I was just like really impressed with how his whole attitude and vibe and everything.
Absolutely. And I think you think that when you're referring to the manners, right? Because it's 2023 and he's fairly young. You think, do these kids even have it anymore? Right. But he does. He's a great kid all the way around.
Yeah, and I know they do, because that's the thing is I feel bad for the younger generation because they get a lot of bad rap, man. You know, like, because we see most of the time the stuff that we see, whether it's social media or news or whatever it is, we always see, and we've talked about this before, we always see the punks, so to speak, like, for lack of a better word. Yeah. But, I mean, there's so many good young men and women out there. They're not the ones that are getting put up on TikTok and social media and Instagram and all this because they're not acting stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, right.
It's just refreshing. It's refreshing. Like, man, these are like-minded. And I see why you hit it off with him when you first met Dom, is because if that was how he presented himself, I mean, like, yeah, I'd be talking to him too and hanging out more.
Yeah. Yep. And that's part of the group that's there. I've hit it off with all of them somehow, some way. And that's why I invited them, you know, because it's kind of like-minded people. Not that I'm like a saint, you know, so to speak, but I mean, just kind of like, we're good people in general and like-minded, you know? And so, yeah, that group was kind of strategic, you know, for multiple reasons. I wanted you to meet Dom too. You'd been wanting to. He comes to my dinners anyway. So it was just kind of perfect, you know, and the whole CWA vibe, you know, so yeah, it worked out well.
No, it was, yeah, we appreciate that. That was really, rub shoulders with those guys, have good food, talk about duck hunting. It was just, and everybody's hyped. The season's come along. Everyone's like-minded, has the same mindset. And just the whole, I felt like I met a bunch of more guys that are like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not that everybody isn't. I'm not even saying that at all. I mean, I'm sure I could sit down with almost every listener that listens to this and have the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But you're absolutely. But these, you know, are friends that I presented and it's all good. You know, there's good ones out there for sure.
More than we know, probably.
Yeah.
Just getting the reach is the hard part, right?
Yeah. You know, if we had these good ones out in the field, I wouldn't worry about distance as much as I do. You know, because you know they're respectable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like, you almost, if I knew there were good ones out there, you wouldn't have to worry about the swing. Right.
Right.
Which is so popular these days. Yeah.
I mean, Kevin, let's go ahead and dive into this to give a little meat and potatoes in this part, because I think we'll save the other one we were talking about, secrets. We'll save that to the next episode.
Okay.
Because I already see where this is going, and we're already 10 minutes in, and we want to talk about the Delta Waterfowl deal too. But let me just pose this question to you randomly out of the top of my head.
Okay.
what distance, if you were with guys like that you were surrounded by, and you're out in the marsh, how close could they be to you?
Yeah. Well,
where you would like, you know what I mean? Where you won't even worry about it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt each other, but at the same time, I don't think you would if you did it right.
Yeah, exactly. Now that arbitrary number, right? I mean,
just for the fun of it, just to throw a number.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd say I would feel if I knew somebody was respectable, right, and I could trust them, or we were, of the same mind. I mean, I'd say, oh, man, 200 to 300 yards comes to my head. I know 200 may be close, but like 300 would be. I think we wouldn't be scaring necessarily. Not scaring ducks, but confusing them, I guess. Something around 200-300 yards. That's something in my head that I feel like I could work with, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to say a smaller number than that, only because I feel like, yeah, I know. Well, I know what you're saying, because there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it like, okay, well, if I'm at a refuge, that ain't going to happen. No 300 yards.
Yeah.
It just isn't going to, as much as I wish it could.
Well, I'm thinking 100. I'm trying to picture 100 in my head. I mean, yeah, if it
close.
was like that, if I was like that, I'd almost like we'd be shooting together. I think the number is like 200 to 300 yards, and I would feel comfortable working birds over my deeks. And if they got out, they're not going to shoot at them, right?
Right.
So I would say less 300 and in. I would feel comfortable with guys that I know,
Well, because you're going to let them, unless they finish, you're not taking them.
Yeah.
So it's like, let the birds decide where they want. If that, they're going to go where they want to go anyways.
Yes, exactly.
Technically, right?
Yeah. Yep. So there's no, especially when we're shooting the Delta, or even like, I guess you're on a marsh, right? It all kind of looks the same, right? It's all tule ponds, right? Does your pond have more food than the next? No, it just depends on where they want to go, Yeah. Yeah. The number could be smaller, but I mean, usually, especially with guys I don't know, and most of the time, what's that, 99% of the time you don't know these guys, man, you want the further the better. Like, like I put out like buffer zones to keep them off of that,
Right. Well, how close is too close? I'm just playing devil's advocate right now, just for the fun of it.
With the Yahoos? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
2 miles.
If I can kind of like see them or hear them almost talking, it's like too close,
man.
But and sometimes when you're out there, the sound travels obviously, but let me just say I'm never really comfortable when there's somebody around me. Because it's almost too close anyway, right? Because they, you don't know how they're going to shoot. Do they let the birds work? Are they just shooting birds? So I just try to keep them off as far as I can.
Yeah. What's your, because this probably help people, like, what's your approach to when you're like, okay, this guy is encroaching, I'm going to have to deal with it. What's your initial words?
Well, if I can help it, I try to get out there and intercept them even coming in to like the pond area, right? So just to kind of keep them moving. But I have talked to folks, if I think they're close, I just try to, if I can, I'll just try to talk to them and see if they'll push out. Usually I'm the first one there. So I'm trying to avoid any not confrontation, but any, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even want them getting close. So I usually have the lights, or I keep my boat out. So they see the light, they don't even want to come that way. You know what I mean? So almost like
it's kind of like if you're in your house, in your home, it's like you locking all the doors to avoid any issues with a burglar, basically. Like, because if you leave all your doors unlocked, you're kind of asking for it.
You're just inviting them in, right? So or if it's not a well lit house, right? You have your you know, your porch light on, you know, this, that, and the other. So, you know, like, may not want to go here, you know, whatever.
Yep.
So, I
It's just
tried.
it's putting all the things ahead advance to help it more. They still may blow in there
Yeah.
or walk in on you, whatever it may be. But if you can give them all the signs to avoid,
Yeah, I
then you're
give them
just making it
every
easier.
opportunity, right? Like I make
Yeah.
the lights bright. I usually have if I have my boat out, I'll turn on my spotlight up front. You know, that's what, 120 watts, right? That's bright. I'll walk around too with a pretty bright light if I'm in my pond, you know, flash some stuff off as I'm putting stuff out. So I want to do everything I can to not even let them get close. They're just going to push through, right? And then you got some folks
Right.
that just don't care. They have nowhere else to go, or they think they don't. They may only shoot a couple areas, and if you're there, they're going to try to force themselves to stay in there, or try to force themselves on you like, hey, we won't bother you. You know, it's like, oh man, you know.
Well,
You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
my thought is
Yeah.
not that we maybe even understand the thought process here, but like, let's say you put up all those signs and that burglar still wants in your house. You know what I mean? Like, you've given them all the signs, all the signals. You've put the lights on. You've got everything you could possibly do, and they still come in there. What do you do? You know, like what conversation? Like, I know you're talking to him, but like, what are you saying? Like, because I feel like I've seen your approach and I like it. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing I do. Is you first use the friendly approach, like,
Yeah.
hey, like,
Well,
you just tell me.
yeah, right. You always start off, friendly. I like to, and just say, hey, it's not going to work. You guys are going to be too close. I don't know. It's kind of organic how you feel, right? Sometimes you may get a little frustrated because you know you have all these. There's no way, because I'm keeping these lights on too, as long as I need to. Most of the time, you get guys coming out at a certain time, right? And those lights are your lights are very noticeable. But I just try to, I guess, make contact and just talk them out of staying there. You know,
Yeah.
the best way, you know, I don't know. It kind of varies, but establish contact and try to push them out. You know, try to expand on how this is a big area, man. You're doing us none of us any favors by being here. You know, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
I know, right? It seems like something you shouldn't have to try to understand, but you do. I mean, it's like, oh, these guys do this. You're like,
yeah. And fortunately, Titus, you know what? With what most, like 95% of the time, it might even be higher, I usually don't have contact. I usually have everything, all the deterrents up that they don't even come by. Fortunately.
yeah, and that's the best case. That's the best scenario you could even ask for. That's what you want.
Right? They just keep
Just
going.
be there and be ready.
Yeah. So I am kind of fortunate in that way. And, you know, if I was to get out there a little later than I'd want, you know, I shouldn't be mad at anybody if,
Right.
if, you know, they're there before me, or, I didn't, you know, get there in time, I guess, you know?
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, we covered that one. Let's go ahead and go to the Delta Waterfowl Expo. I have covered it a little bit in some of my prior episodes to this, but I hadn't got your perspective and your thoughts on it. Man, there was a lot of good people there.
There was.
A lot of good people.
There was. You're absolutely right. I thought it was great. You know, I had a motive going in there to meet as many folks as I could that I've had like a little bit of dialogue with via IG or whatnot. You know, kind of put a face with a name and a tagline. You know, your tagline on IG or whatnot. So it was a good event. I got to meet a ton of folk. Some I knew, some I hadn't, you know, got to meet, but got to see Wade and Joel Bow. Haven't seen them in almost 2 years. So got to reestablish contact with them and all these new folks too. So, you know, and you could do that show It's a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. I mean,
2.5 days, yeah.
yeah, technically you can do that show in a day. I mean, if you really wanted to,
Oh
day and a
yeah.
half, you know, but
But you wouldn't really get to.
yeah, that was never my motive. I was always going to stay the
Yeah.
3 days
Mm-hmm.
and 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 make conversation. Um,
Right.
and actually, probably the third day, so it was Sunday. That was probably my best day. It
Yeah.
was low key, less folks, and I hit up everybody that I hadn't hit because Friday and Saturday is going to be your busy days, your busiest days,
Right.
right? And those guys are
Yeah.
everybody's getting hounded for conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
Sunday ended up being a very good day to make some contact. So it
Yeah.
was good. It
Yeah.
was a good. It was a good time.
What's some of the conversations that you got to have? I mean, like, who was some of the people that stood out to you that you got to meet?
So I wanted to meet. I've been tracking Rusty Creasy, man, since probably
Mm-hmm.
2008 or 9 when he was with the in the with Echo, the Echo
Yeah.
guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really doing it big in those private woods, which used to get me so hot and bothered, dude, to shoot green timber. I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do some green timber Arkansas hunting,
Yep.
and that has since kind of cooled off. I'm like, but Rusty was cool. I've heard a lot of great things about him. You know how he's a great guy, and he was,
Mm-hmm.
dude. So this was Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, I went.
He's tall.
He is fairly tall. He's probably 6'2", maybe
Oh,
even
you
six
think? I
three.
thought he was more. I thought he was more 6'4" or 6'5".
Okay, maybe so. Yeah,
Thomas is
yeah.
6'2". He was quite a bit taller than
Okay,
Thomas.
okay. Then he's 6'4", gentleman,
I don't
maybe
know. It
six
just seemed like
five.
he was pretty. I guess you have this visualization of how tall people are. You have this mindset. Then
Yeah,
when you see him in
yeah.
person, you're like, man, that dude's small or tall. One of the two.
He was definitely tall. You're right. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the taller gentleman, and super cool. Probably chopped it up with him for a good 20 minutes because there was nothing really going on Sunday, and we were just having some conversation. So it was a good chat. Who was another one? Oh, Roy Carter
Oh
from
yeah. Did you talk to him? Huh?
from Carter's Big Island. Had some
Mm.
dialogue with him over the last year or two on IG, and then met him there. That was really cool. He's an OG dude. You know,
Really?
he just reminds me of just the blue collar,
Mm-hmm.
old school. Just I could see my dad's era of like
Yeah.
the OGs you would look up to when you were a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he just hit that off. He's really cool. I'm hoping with some stuff that Caleb and I do this year that we might be able to go do something with Roy next year over at his place in the Big
That'd
Island.
be
So
awesome.
that's kind of, because I think it'd be he's got a great thing he's doing there over at CBI, Carter's Big Island, that he's doing, and that his forefathers had started, right? So I think he's got a cool story to tell. But yeah, Roy was cool. Who else? Oh, I met Dr. Duck and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of wanted to say hi to them. I'm not necessarily fanboys of theirs, but
Mm-hmm.
they were there, so I wanted to kind of go introduce myself. So I had some cool conversation with them, and they were once PD folk, they were with Pro Drive, and I don't think they are right now, but they're kind of doing their own thing right now. I think they're all kind of just. I don't think they have their sponsors like they used to. I think they're just kind of doing it themselves, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah, because a lot of their stuff they have now is their stuff. It's branded their stuff now, so they're doing good.
Right, just straight up Dr. Duck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was good conversation. Bo Brooks.
Yeah.
Yep, got to meet Bo.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, and a little thing about Bo. So we were kind of chopping it up about Pro Drive, right? Or just like motors, because he bought a boat back in Kentucky. I think he's gotten, it's not an XL, but it's some duck boat. I can't remember if it was like an Edge or whatnot with an outboard. And he's not really into the whole loud mud motor thing.
Yeah.
So I was telling him about that 50 Tahatsu. So, and he was kind of all ears on that. So when that starts to drop, we should keep a little conversation with Bo.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That thing's got my heartstrings. I honestly think about that thing a lot because when I go on Jake's boat, his newer boat that he's got that 40 horse.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Mercury? It's not. Yeah, it's nothing like this. I'm not even trying to compare the two. But what I was just gonna say is the noise level, right? Like, I think it's just good for multiple reasons, not just for your own hearing, but like, just maybe scaring birds up, and pushing birds around. It's just not the volume's not gonna carry as far too. Plus the speed and the dependability. I mean, there's so many different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It hits on multiple levels on why it's just it's better. Not, and the mud motor has its place because certainly these things are going to be priced a little differently, as you know, right? So it's going to kind of price some folks out, but mud motors are never going to die. They're always going to be there. This is just expanding on the whole deal. So yeah, I'm excited,
man. I'm wondering, it's like in my mind, I'm like, something on the cutting edge like this, it's really neat to see and be a part of. And I was like, I wonder where this is going to go, It's so,
dude.
You know what I mean? It's so at the beginning phases, I'm like, where's this going to lead to in 5 years from now, 10 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's certainly the best of both worlds, literally, dude. It is.
Yeah,
outboard capability, or outboard reliability, with surface drive capabilities. I mean, dude, you're hitting on, you've got it all. So
yeah,
it's gonna pop. It's gonna pop off, but it is pricey in general, right? You're always gonna get yourself a mud motor, a used one, and be at that next level. So, but we'll see. As far as I think people are gonna start thinking about it for sure, Titus. That have these engines, they're gonna be like, you know what? They're gonna try to justify it for sure. You know how we can try to justify everything.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, too, I think a lot of it, and I totally get and understand this. It's not that everybody's scared to spend the money. There's a level of can do it, but don't want to, can't do it, just can't do it, period.
Yeah.
And I get that. Or want to do it, but are scared to do it because they want to see how it performs, how it does, the longevity of it. So you just got so many different levels of people that are going to be, there'll be the guys that do right out the gate, man. They're just like Peter jumping out of the boat in the water, Then there's going to be the guys that are holding back to see, is he going to sink or is he going to walk on water too, And I think that, this still, I'm all in. I know you're all in. Is everything going to be perfect? I've never seen nothing be perfect, but as long as these guys have been testing stuff from what KP was saying and you're saying, again, I'm not trying to make no room for any imperfection, but when you put it to work for a long time, it sure helps eliminate a lot of those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even when products you think are like flawless, new technology comes out, things may change a tad, right? For sure. But overall, they've been testing this thing a long time. And we could have been the first to get it. I know there's about 20 of them out there. But, here's the thing that kind of, this isn't just like you get it and you go. So for us, since it's it's a water cooled motor, since it's an outboard, right? So for guys who don't have the boat with the keel system, right, they're going to have to get that and tack that on. So there is a little work to be done. So it's not so cut and dry for the guys who just want to get one on their regular boat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not that it's impossible, but you're going to have to get that keel and then tack that on, run the how it's supposed to, whatever it is, the hardware. So there is a little bit of a, not gray area, but it's, you got to do a little work first. For us, for you and I who are going to sell the rigs, boats coming with it on. We're from the factory, everything's dialed. So
yeah, right. Which, like you said, you do have both options, which is really cool. I'm just glad to be able to do the other way, like with the whole setup and done. And again, I know it's not for everybody, but also this is maybe a kind of a poor comparison, but I'm just saying the whole mindset of things, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about how you're doing something and people seeing something brand new like this, they're a little hesitant, right? So like the Sitka waders when they first came out, I mean, there's still people, those waders have been out for the zip waders, because they came out first with the non-zip. Then I think a year or two later they came out with the zip. And at first people were like, oh my, goodness, $1,000 for waders. Is their warranty really going to work? Are they going to stand by their product? Is it really that good? Is it worth it? I'll just buy my $200 waders and da-da-da, right? Well, this is, now we're sitting, and I don't know, I'm just going to throw numbers out there. I don't know exactly. 5 to 7 years later, there's still guys just now, after all this time, just now like, oh, I'm pulling the trigger now. And it's because so-and-so, their buddy said, oh, I'm going on year 3. Man, I just got my waders back. They put new boots on, didn't charge me nothing. Or I'm on my 5th year now. I haven't had one leak in 5 years. And when I do, I send them back in for the testing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the same thing with any new product. But on a bigger scale, this boat, going back to ProDrive, there's going to be guys that jump in with both feet. There's going to be guys that want to see if their buddy has issues. But, man, even at 5 to 7 year mark, people are going to be like, oh, man, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And then it's going to hit a whole nother wave of growth and potential,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Then, you got those guys like you mentioned that like, oh, I'm going to see my buddy or this. So most of these people that are like, they need to see the product actually. See, we've been with PD forever, right? Or I know you're, but I know I could trust it, stuff like that. A lot of people, the doubters, right? They want to see like a buddy maybe have it and, get to touch it, feel it, see how it works,
How long, Kevin, have you've been with ProDrive for how long now?
Since 2005.
Wow.
So almost 20 years.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
What made you start with them? I'm just going to put you on the spot there. Like, what made you go with ProDrive?
Well, I mean, this is the inception of my whole surface drive deal was I just recently got out of the Army in 2004 and was looking to get back into ducking, right? I had nothing here. I've been gone for 4 years. So mud motors were just really taking off as far as the short tails, right? They used to always have the long tail. But so I was just doing research, Titus. Really, it was just between gator tail and PD. Really wasn't into the whole, really wasn't into Mud Buddy and Go Devil. So it just really came down to, I was just kind of talking with them both. And then I just kind of really felt more comfortable with gears. I know they look different. The PD looked the different out of all of them, right? It was like, what is this? Right? But I ended up, and they were all great people. Kyle was great. This is when Kyle was still answering the phone, and KP was answering the phone, and Brian. So this is in their early years. And I just ended up liking gears and the gear driven better. I thought it would be more reliable. Plus having great conversations with KP and Brian on the phone, that helped. But I was, I did some research here, talked to some buds, and they were always, they prefer gears over belt. Right. And then that's where I went, and the rest is history, dude.
Yeah.
And I won't look back,
That's cool.
and it's almost like PD's kind of like a certain person right? Because I mean, they've never been the fastest, right? And but to me, it was just ingenious everything that they did. You know,
Mm.
I mean, gear driven, the instant reverse, or excuse me. Well, now they have instant reverse with the full power, right? And to
Right.
most people, they've always looked a little hokey, dude. You know, because they had that
Yeah.
whole different look, right? Because it was a gear driven. It was remember they used to have it like a crank, a
Yeah. Yeah.
a wheel for your
Mm-hmm.
trim, and then they used to have it like on a winch, right? So, but they've just constantly been progressing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Using technology, and it works. Look at them now. Basically, their direct drive platform, right? Because they're a vertical driven kind of entity, right? You know, the
Mm-hmm.
Mud Buddies and Gator Tails are a horizontal shaft, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why too these outboards work because it's a vertical shaft. You know,
Hmm.
compared to horizontal, you don't have horizontal outboards, right? So that's where I
Right.
think PD is going to take the market. These horizontal companies, or like Gator Tail, Mud Buddy, you're not putting an outboard on a horizontal shaft. You know, I
Yeah.
think PD's got this locked up, Titus.
Yeah. I agree. I'm excited. The timing couldn't have been better for us. That's all I gotta say. It just couldn't have been better.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad we got to try out Gator Tail, and it was good and everything, and we liked it and had killed a lot of birds, seen a lot of places, scouted a lot of waters. But I'm
Oh
really
yeah, dude,
excited
got
about
you.
this. Yeah, got my feet wet.
Yeah, dude, it was great. It was great
Mm.
your experience.
Yeah. So
So
well, I think we'll wrap this one up. We're already hitting the 37-minute mark, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for the next one. We're going to ask some questions. I'll just give you a little taste. It's probably going to be a little bit of, is it really a secret? We'll leave that with you. So we'll see you guys on the next one.